that we're driven by positive emotions that help us stay in alignment with our vision, our purpose, and our goals. With that being said, though, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic of discussion. Again, if you are new, salute and welcome to the broadcast. And for everybody that consistently tunes in, I see you and I truly appreciate you investing time during these broadcasts. If you do not know, my name is David Gibson, also known as D1 Gibson, but that's not important because it's not a me thing, it's a we thing. What I want to describe today is to assist us in staying empowered. In fact, everybody please comment below, stay empowered, right? I want to describe a few mindset shifts that we can make starting right now that will help us enhance our discipline and improve the overall quality of our life. And if you're tuning and tapping into this stream, I'm quite sure you're about that life. You're aiming to become the best version of yourself. You're goal oriented, you're purpose driven, you're looking to grow, you're looking to scale, you're looking to make an impact. But we know that life can often life, right? And what I mean by that is life gets in the way. Adverse conditions will arise, obstacles will get in our path, right? And often try to stop us from moving forward. But I want to describe some mental shifts that we can make that will help us overcome those challenges and continue to make progress towards what we truly value. Now, to begin the conversation, let me share this very brief story to kind of give us some context for these mental shifts. Up until 1954, it was understood or largely assumed that no human being, no man nor woman, can run the distance of 1 mile under 4 minutes. I'm quite sure many of us are familiar with this story. It's the story of Roger Bannister, right? Again, up until 1954, everybody and their mama was convinced, yo, it's impossible for a human being to run that rate of speed, right, during that amount of time under 4 minutes. But my guy, Roger Bannister, had a vision, he had an idea, he had a thought that maybe this thing is possible. Maybe I can be the one that can run a mile under 4 minutes. He had many attempts, right? Many attempts, many failures. He put himself out there telling his peers, telling his friends, telling his family, and everybody is saying that he's out of his mind, that he is wasting his time trying to direct his energy and attention towards accomplishing something that is classified to be impossible. But nonetheless, he persevered. He kept persisting. And then one day in 1954, he ran 1 mile at the time of 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Now, that is an amazing accomplishment, right? To do something that had never been done before, when the odds were stacked against you and everybody and their mama said you couldn't do it. His actions, his level of execution proved everyone wrong. What I want to describe during this story is really that in this particular case, it wasn't a physical barrier that stopped individuals from accomplishing that goal. It was really a mental barrier that hindered individuals from running a mile under 4 minutes. Because it was 46 days later that Roger again, him and another runner, ran that same mile under 4 minutes for the second time. In fact, to this day, college students, high school students run this time regularly, right? Because Roger Bannister was the first one to do it. I believe the world record right now for running a 1 mile distance is 3 minutes and 43 seconds. That's 15 seconds shaved off of 4 minutes. That's massive. That's huge. But no one was able to do it until Roger broke that psychological barrier, right? And when I think about how this relates to life, we can often create rules in our minds. We can often establish limiting beliefs as to what we would classify to be possible. Possible for us to experience, possible for us to accomplish, possible for us to achieve, right? And I've learned to understand that in most cases, we as individuals often base our level of ambition on three different things, right? Number one, our current competencies. Number two, our current capabilities. And number three, we base what is possible on our past. Now, hear me clearly on this, right? If you base what is possible solely on your history, then you'll miss out on experiencing your destiny, right? How many of us have been guilty of assuming that we can't do certain things simply because we've never done it before, right? How many of us have operated with the mindset that we can't reach a certain level simply because we don't feel as if we have what it takes, failing to understand that we have the capacity to grow, to develop, to evolve, and improve? What I'm describing, right? Psychologists often label this the fixed mindset, right? Where a person often assumes that who they are is who they're destined to be and nothing else will change, right? Or in many cases, where they're at, their current environment, their current circumstance, their current scenario in life. They often assume that this is the way life will always be, right? I've always lived paycheck to paycheck and things will never be better. I've always worked this specific job or had this specific career and I can never step into anything new. I've never been in this position in life. I've always been obese. I've always been unhealthy, right? I've always had diabetes. I'll never be able to overcome these health barriers, right? These challenges that I'm experiencing. And what we have to learn to do is break those psychological barriers, those mental boundaries that we have established, right? Last week, we talked about those that say they can't and those that say they can are both usually right. And I want to double down on that, right? Because I believe it's our beliefs that hinder us from experiencing everything that life has to offer. And what we have to learn to do is identify these beliefs that are hindering us from experiencing more and have the courage to redefine the possibilities for our life. In fact, this is what every iconic leader has done, right? When we think about the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s, the Nelson Mandela's, the Oprah Winfrey's, the J.K. Rowling's, the Richard Branson's, when we think about the people that we read about that inspire us, these are individuals that operate with two beliefs. And these are the two mental mindset shifts that I want us to take on as we're approaching this Monday. Belief number one is they largely believe that tomorrow can and will be better than today. And then the second belief is that they believe that they have the power to make it so. Let me repeat those two beliefs. Individuals that are achievers or overcomers or that redefine possibilities, the trailblazers in the world in which we live, they operate and they're led by the belief, number one, that tomorrow can and will be better than today. And then number two, they understand that they have the power and the capacity to make it so. Now, what I'm encouraging us to do as we're stepping into this Monday is to establish a vision for yourself. Now, as you're establishing a vision of what is possible, here's what I want us to do. Don't put any limits on what you feel you're capable of accomplishing. And I know historically, we've done this, right? Traditionally, we've put limitations and restrictions on possibilities. I'm encouraging and challenging us at the same time right now in this given moment to stop that pattern, to break that habit, and to give yourself permission to say, this is what I can have access to. This is what I can accomplish. This is where I can take my life, right? My career. This is the lifestyle that I can establish. I can reinvent my scenarios, my environment, my circumstance, using the power of our mind. And as you see what you're aiming to accomplish with no limitations, here's what I want us to do, right? I want you to suspend disbelief. Comment below, in fact, suspend disbelief. And one may say, well, D1, like, how am I able to do that? Well, we do it every single day, right? We suspend disbelief. In fact, anytime you're watching a film or a movie, you are suspending disbelief. Like, we know that the movie isn't necessarily real, but we're willing to suspend our disbelief in that given moment, right? Like, as we're looking on the screen, we recognize what's on the screen isn't really happening, right? But what we do is we're willing to set aside that knowledge temporarily so that we can gain the full impact of that experience. We get involved with the storyline, right? We start connecting with the characters. We start pondering on how we would respond or react to any given situation. We start fostering opinions on characters. And in some cases, they make us feel some type of way. We feel the emotions that these characters in these movies and films are feeling, right? As I just mentioned, right? Like many times we can foster these opinions of people because we find ourselves immersed in the story. The other day, man, I was on Twitter and I saw this meme and it had me rolling for a minute, right? Because the meme said, healing begins with forgiveness, right? And the author of this meme said, I think it's time for us to forgive these individuals. I'm gonna put it up here on the screen, right? He said, I think it's time for us to forgive these individuals. We got these two people here, and if you know anything about these two individuals, one of which was on Tyler Perry's The Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the second one of which is on Selena, right? Now, granted, the story of Selena was something that took place, rest in paradise to our sister Selena. But this individual here represents the individual that pulled the trigger that killed her. But we often throw the heat towards this individual, right? And in the comments, people are like, nah, we ain't forgiving these people. We ain't, nah, I'm not forgetting about what they did. That brother did her wrong, right? He physically abused her, verbally abused her, treated her some type of way. I'm not forgiving this man. And this is because we enroll in these stories, right? We immerse ourselves in these stories, even though they're not true, even though they're an extension of our reality, right? We place ourselves in these stories and we make them real in our mind. D1, what are you saying? What I'm saying is your vision is a story, right? Your vision, your dream, your goal, right? That you see in your mind, that image, it's a story. In the same way that you suspend disbelief for something that's on the screen at the movie theater, you can suspend disbelief as you're visualizing the success that you're aiming to experience. But catch this, right? As you begin to suspend disbelief, you immerse yourself in the emotions that are attached to your story. The emotions like enthusiasm and excitement and passion and joy. And you start connecting with these emotions. In other words, you begin to raise your frequency of thought. And as you raise your frequency, you'll be on the same frequency with everything that's connected to your goals, your vision, and your purpose. And this is what I mean when I say iconic leaders operate with the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. They visualize it, they connect with it, they're intellectually involved, they're emotionally invested. And because they're connected to this vision, family, what happens is now they begin to operate on that frequency. They start exercising that vision. They start taking action and executing on that vision because they're connected to it, right? They're connected to it. Then I'll talk about the second belief and we'll take it home. Second belief, remember, is that you have the power to make it so. You have the capacity to create positive change in your life. Doesn't matter where you're at or what you're up against or what you're currently facing. You have within you the ability to overcome, to rise above it, to master the situation, to create solutions to problems that you're facing, to navigate the adversity, and to rise to the top. You have what it takes. Let's bring it back to Roger Bannister. After Roger ran the mile under 4 minutes for the very first time, of course, the cameras are all in his face, right? They got the microphone close to his mouth, and everybody wants to hear from the man that did something that once was classified to be impossible. They said, Roger, how did you do it, right? You had many attempts and you experienced many failures. Many people that had doubted you, right? Your parents, your family members said you were crazy and out of your mind. People historically have thought and assumed that this could not be done. How were you able to accomplish this? Roger simply answered those questions by saying this: the one that's willing to push themselves further, when the effort becomes painful, that's the one that's going to win. Ooh, family, the one that's willing to push themselves further. When the effort becomes difficult, when the effort becomes challenging, when the effort becomes overwhelming, when the effort or the feat becomes time consuming, when it becomes tedious, the one that's willing to push themselves further. When the effort becomes painful, that's the one that's going to win. That's the one that's going to redefine possibilities. That's the one that's going to reach new heights and experience greater levels of success. That's the one that's going to scale their business. That's the one that's going to improve their career. That's the one that's going to accomplish the goal, the one that has the willingness to go the extra mile, to push themselves further because he operated with that belief. I got the power to change my situation for the better. What most people often do, family, and I'll say this and wrap it up, is we often become victims to our circumstances. And as long as I play the role of a victim, I'll never be able to see myself winning, right? I'll never be able to understand that I have what it takes to rise above this situation. But the moment that I make up my mind, I'm not going to be a victim of circumstance. I'm going to be a creator of circumstance. That gives me my personal power for me to leverage. And even though it may be difficult, even though my back may be against the wall, even though I may fall short a few times, even though people may be lacking the belief in what I'm able to accomplish, even though the odds may be stacked against me, because I believe in myself. And because I have and hold that belief, I'm willing to go the extra mile, persevere, and keep persisting until I succeed. That's how we redefine possibilities for our lives. D1, what are you saying? I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. As we step into this Monday, as we step into a new week, it's full of opportunities. There's blessings with your name on it, things that you personally can accomplish. But you have to hold on to the belief that tomorrow can and will be better than today. Regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what you feel. In many cases, it's not about what you feel, it's more about what you believe. And I'm challenging and encouraging us to believe that tomorrow can and will be better than today. And the only way it's going to be better is if you hold the belief that you can make it so. If we can stop waiting for everything to change or for things to be better, for the stars to align, for the economy to improve, for other people to believe in us, for other people to buy into our goals and our dreams, for others to validate us, if you stop waiting for everybody else and everything else to fall in place and you make up your mind, I'm going to initiate the positive change in my life because I carry that power. And I refuse to allow circumstances and situations to rob me of the opportunities that have my name on it. When you operate with that mindset, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. So as I wrap it up and we conclude this stream, the call to action is this. That vision that you established as we had this conversation, I want you to pursue it with determination, with confidence, and a bona fide belief that you have the ability to change your situation for the better. Yeah, I know it's not easy. I understand it's difficult and challenging. And you may feel as if you're not built for it. But I want you to hear me clearly. You're built for whatever you're willing to fight for in life. As long as you don't lose that fight, that hunger, that drive from within, you can redefine the possibilities for your life. But you got to operate with those two beliefs. Tomorrow can and will be better than today. And you got the power to make it so. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And again, if this is your first time, or maybe your first time in a long time tuning into the broadcast, I welcome you. And I want to shout you out as well. Be sure to comment below. Number 1 in the comment section, and then place your first name afterward. Again, number 1 in the comment section, and then place your first name afterward. If you did find value in this stream, put some fist up in the comments below. Let your boy know that you tapped in and you were picking up what I was putting down. Missed a few comments. Latoya, my Naptown sister, great day to you. Salute. Welcome. Yes, we become a part of what we watch by casting ourselves as the actual character. Just imagine what your life can become if you start casting yourself for the vision that you have for your life. Like you step into that role unapologetically. And what you see in your mind, you start building in your reality. That's how we transform our life for the better, y'all. Blessings to you as well, for sure. Likewise, appreciate you tuning in. Also, again, it's not too late for you to share this out with the people that you do care about. They may not be able to tune in live, but they can still catch the replay, and the inspiration and empowerment is still the same. Yes, be the perseverance, Angel, absolutely unstoppable. I see some fists coming in. If you did, again, benefit from the stream, share this out with the people that you do care about. And also, if we have yet to connect on other social media platforms, be sure to connect with your boy. Go to elevationisAmust.com. You can join my newsletter, get free mindset shifts directly to your inbox, as well as some other personal development tools, tips, and strategies and resources that will help you level up in life. And if you're interested in diving deeper on some one-on-one coaching, be sure to connect. I can work with you to help you stay empowered, to unpack those limiting beliefs and align your life, mind, and actions and everything that you do with the vision that you have for your life. And then at D1 Gibson is pretty much my handle on all platforms, so be sure to connect. But to make it easier, you got the QR code that you can scan there, and then elevationisAmust.com. With that being said, let's wrap this thing up, because remember, you got dreams to catch and success to create, so we got to get busy being a great family. Didn't mean to throw out those bars on this Monday morning, but we're going to keep it flowing. But if you find yourself in a difficult situation or a challenging experience, just remember that this too shall pass. So be encouraged. Keep your head up, stick your chest out, and keep persisting until you succeed. Now, you might be saying, well, D1, it sounds good, but you have no idea what I'm currently facing. I may not know what you're up against. I may not know whatever stands in front of you or whatever's behind you, but what I do know is this: nothing can compare to the power that's at work within you. It's time for you to stand up with that power so you can move your life forward. And if nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, your brother from another mother, D1 Gibson, has nothing but love for each and every single one of you. So with all of that being said, it's Monday. Let's step into this day prepared and in position to accomplish some excellent things. Again, let's get busy being great. You got the power to change your life for the better. Tomorrow can and will be better, but you got to exercise and leverage your personal power. Be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. Be powerful. Have a phenomenal day, family. Peace.